Welcome everyone to the Minions of the Zoo. This is the Tuesday edition, and I'm your keeper, SkepTock, and with me I have Minions, Prospero.
Hello.
And the TheHarryChannel.
Howdy.
Coming to you coast to coast from Virginia to California.
The vast audio radiance.
The vast audio radiance across these slidey toves. We have lots to cover and only an hour to cover it. We're only going to go for an hour tonight because I've changed the show and I want to see how it goes. So I really do hope that we get some viewership out here. If you're viewing it, please share us, and which I'm going to do now. And if you're not, start viewing us. Of course, you're probably not hearing me if you're not viewing us, or unless you happen to be blind and listening to us, of course.
Jesus.
In which case, you're welcome. And does anybody have anything more sensible to say than what I have?
No.
Okay.
Not really.
Continuing on. I'm just.
I
Nobody
did
ever
like the
asked.
slimy toves business, though. That was rather sly of you.
Yeah, thank you.
It was brilliant of you, actually.
Brilliant guys. Feed, pick that up. Nobody ever asked the host, what you've been doing, but it's been an interesting. It's been an interesting week for me. I got to go on vacation to a beach, Virginia Beach, and just rock out there and have a good time. It was one of those things where I was getting together with a bunch of old friends and I've been friends. This is my best friend from high school. We've known each other for 55 years. We've known each other since we were 15 years old. And got our driver's licenses together practically. It was just so many years, did so many things. We've taken many vacations together, and it's just, I'm kind of a part of their family. I've never really fit that terribly well in my own family, but this family adopted me and kind of made me did make me one of their own, and I love it very much. So it was just a great week. I'm refreshed, relaxed, ready. I'm thinking about running for president. What about you guys? How you been, Prospero?
You can't run for president. You missed the summit in Iowa.
I thought you were going to say I'm too young.
You going to run as a Whig or what?
Yeah, he's going to run as a Tory.
I run as a Tory. Yeah,
make Great Britain great again.
You won't get a bank account if you do that.
Not wrong.
Yeah, this is true.
Like this nonsense with Nigel Farage.
Oh, that is unbelievable.
You would think that they had video of him kicking a puppy, like in Hyde Park or something.
Or Jimmy Saviling his way through a preschool.
What do they have on him?
Well, he's a xenophobe because he was like the face of Brexit. So a bunch of these impotent little small-dicked, flaccid pieces of shit who run whatever bank he was with decided, well, you can't have an account with us because you violate our EIO policy about something. And so now I don't know if there's no bank that will have him, but it's kind of an interesting, well, I don't know, interesting is the right word. It's pretty crazy. I remember, oh, sorry, I don't mean to derail
pretty
your,
Chinese.
No.
Your
this
show.
This is very
So do you remember Ashton Birdie? She was this little blonde 21-ish thing. Remember her?
Yeah.
Now, she was the one that hooked up with Paul Joseph Watson for a bit.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
just to get all the sordid details out there. Well, now she's an OnlyFans girl. And
of course she is.
Of course she is. And she's gone from right-wing thought to left-wing thought. Now, so now she's a bisexual OnlyFans thing. Right?
Transsexual Uber dwarf. Yeah, okay.
But back in the day when she was a conservative, she was making some sort of comments, and I made a comment in one of her videos and just said, this thing where we deny people service, this might seem like a good idea, but it's not, because they're going to make a database and they're going to make it so that people literally can't get the things they need, because all these whack jobs have to do is basically form a cabal. And you've heard me say this ever since you've known me, that I think that anything that can be treated as a commodity or utility, people should have equal opportunity to buy that thing. Like if you show up, something's for sale, you should be able to buy it. I don't care
The
about.
trick is in the naming, Harry.
I understand that, and I think those are both terms that work just fine, honestly. But if it's something's bespoke and you're dealing with like a small creator, like, you shouldn't have to make a website for, Sodomy Hut or whatever. That's fine. But
Yeah,
but
they
I
don't have
said
to bake the cake when they're
when
a
this all
custom
started,
baker. Yeah.
when this all started,
Sodomy
this is the road we were getting on, where we
Yep.
started just not.
Yeah.
We started denying people's, well, we're a business, we're allowed to discriminate against whoever. No, you're a financial services company.
Right.
Literally, there are 1,000 laws that talk about all the ways you can't discriminate against groups of people. The fact that you're just being spiteful and doing it to one person, it just seems this is exactly what I didn't want to see happening.
Yeah.
And it's going to get so much worse before it gets better.
Yeah, it's borrowing a page from the Chinese social credit, and it's literally telling people we'd like you dead under a bridge in a refrigerator box.
No, but you wouldn't bake a cake for a gay wedding, so therefore we have to burn the entire country down. We have to burn society down because of a stupid gay wedding cake.
You know they won't make bespoke suits for you if you won't pay them.
Yeah.
It's funny. There's a lot of things you can't get for a lot of reasons in bespoke world. You can't get in the front door unless they know your pedigree in some places. That's classist, I'm sure, and all those kinds of hideous things. But yeah, you're right. It's just, I don't mind people boycotting individual products, but it's a very different thing to boycott individuals when businesses are doing it. Banking institutions, it's interesting because I think you could make a case under some of their own anti-discrimination language that what they are doing is in violation of the law.
I want to use your legal brain T value.
Selective.
What do you think about the idea of pursuing them from the standpoint they are federal depository banks? All of them are. And so as a member of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, they are required to give service to every American who pays for that insurance.
Right.
Get me?
Yes, absolutely. Now
Okay.
that would be in the United States. I don't know exactly all the ins and outs of British banking law.
Oh, that's right. That's right. This is going on in Britain. I was
But
sitting
no,
here thinking
no.
in the
They've
United
talked
States,
about doing it here.
Yeah, if they did, that's where I think you'd have a problem.
It's kind of, PayPal has gotten away with shutting people down and keeping their money because they're kind of bespokey. They're not, but they're getting into payment plans and credit cards and banky stuff. They better be careful.
They are a financial services company.
Yes.
They are essentially a credit card processor with a web front end. There's nothing bespoke about it.
Yeah, and MasterCard has done the same thing by applying pressure and refusing to process certain individuals. MasterCard actually has been behind a lot of this behavior, applying pressures on other institutions.
It's how
they were the ones applying the pressure on PayPal.
Here's how they get around it. They use the corporate veil, because the corporate veil will shield the corporations enough, I would imagine, that hey, this is a different entity. It's not the bank. So yes, nobody's denying them the chance to have a bank account. They can have a bank account. They just can't have a credit card account because that is a business that is not a quasi government sponsored outfit, but is entirely private. Actually, I think that probably would win the day. Truthfully, with absent specific legislation that attempted to address that.
Well, you're not going to get that because there's not enough political meat on the bone for a legislature
that's a good point.
to take it up. Well, it's disgusting that they wouldn't, because I think it is a matter of civil rights.
Sort of things they're supposed to do, right?
Well, it's a civil rights matter.
It's discriminatory lending.
Yes,
is what it is when you do something like that. And it's you know, I was thinking about, you know, well, we're not dealing with a class. Well, we are. We're dealing with a class of one. You can have a class with one person in it. That's still a class.
The individual is the single most important.
And it's probably going to extend to more people than that, because for every Nigel Farage, how many additional people are there? I mean, you know, how many Tommy Robinsons and other people are there that fall in this same class?
Correct.
So if you've decided that for non-financial reasons, you're going to deny credit to people, and, you know, therein lies the seed to all sorts of bad things. Under normal circumstances, the people on the left wouldn't want banks to even have the ability to do something like that. Just have somebody walk in and go, oh, hold up a card next to me and go, well, sorry, you're just a few shades too dark. You can't borrow money from us. Well, we've decided that's bad, so we've made that a set aside. And this is the problem with all sorts of group rights things. Ultimately, it should just be, you know, if you're supplying, like I said, a commodity or some sort of utility, and financial services broadly fall under this kind of stuff.
Yes.
The criteria should be clear, they should be objective, and they really shouldn't have anything to do with these sort of superficial, non-financial characteristics.
What I find irritating is what so many people go to immediately as the solution, which is adding political persuasion as part of a protected class, creating protected class according to political persuasion. And hang on one moment, please.
Yeah, you can treat people equally. You can run out of a commodity. You know, you can say, you know, at you know, John's peat moss hut, you know, you come in and you buy 1.5 cubic yard blocks of peat moss.
Right. Yes.
And they're all identical. And if somebody comes in and they're looking a little swishy, a little fruity, a little light in the loafers, you still sell them peat moss. We don't know what they're going to do with it. Who knows what people do in their off time? But, you know, you sell them the peat moss. It's not an issue. I don't want people not having the ability to do that. If that person shows up and you're all out of peat moss, that's a whole different situation. If you wanted to get into a thing where people would bid, and then it would go to the people who are willing to pay the most money, that seems perfectly reasonable too. Like, I don't, for instance, think that gouging is actually a thing. If there's an emergency and you were too stupid to stock D batteries for your old Maglite, and the hurricane's coming and you go to the store, you deserve to pay 20x.
Yeah,
and you know why? Because that means that the person who already has them won't just buy extras just in case.
Yep. You know, it's...
Sorry, I'm in a mood.
No, I understand, because I do find there are certain extreme circumstances where I disagree with you. Hurricanes can be rather long-term disruptive events, and there's only so much gasoline you can safely store for operating motor vehicles and whatnot. So I don't really like the price gouging that has occurred at gas stations. There was some issue with it in New Jersey during the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy. The widespread power outage and the inability to get so many people back onto the grid in a timely fashion did lead to some pretty onerous prices for people who are trying to run gas generators and things like that. You know, you're going to run into safety issues if people are storing canisters of gasoline in their homes. So I think there are a few commodities that you might want to apply some pressure to avoid. And there's certain basic necessities, such as water. People are constrained in space. Apartment dwellers. I mean, I'm taking the compassionate approach to the gouging argument on certain things, certain basic necessities, which I actually consider gasoline to be, from the standpoint of when Hurricane Sandy hit, the weather was not warm in the north. It was in October. And heating was going to become an issue for a lot of people when you're dealing with highly dense population areas.
Yeah. Well,
water and water storage.
But are we talking about bottled water
Yes.
or tap water? Talking about bottled water.
Bottled water, because if the power grid goes down and it takes your pump system down for any length of time, people go to boil only. If they have no fuel with which to boil, they're cut off from water.
Yeah. So in the event that you're dealing with something where there is a natural monopoly, and we're not going to get into the definition of natural monopoly before you ask me, but something that sort of is in that realm.
My jaws were clamped together.
Loosely speaking, a natural monopoly. Okay.
Yep.
Then in that type of case, you really can't just go jacking power up, because there's no way for competition to take place.
Correct.
If there's a hurricane coming and you need to get the hell out because they've said get the hell out, we generally can give people 3, 4, even 5 days of notice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a series of gas stations in an area. Now, at one gas station, somebody might decide to, raise the price from $5 to $20. But unless there's literally a cartel that's being formed, there's always going to be somebody at the other gas stations trying to undercut the other guys to get as much business as they can before they board up and get the hell out of Dodge.
They will accelerate their volume. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, they also had the problem with the power grid. They couldn't even pump gas in a lot of it.
99.9% of the time, the market is good. The market is wise.
Yeah, no, it is.
Will always make better decisions than the government will.
Oh, God, yes.
The government, I don't want the government having the ability to decide any of this shit. Okay?
Yeah.
Because if you're not going to let prices handle it, then your only other option is going to be rationing. And what's the point of getting one D-cell battery at the Dollar General when your Maglite needs 4?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Rationing becomes an issue.
How do you feel about
the other thing is that the letting prices just sort of naturally do what they're going to do in most cases incentivizes people to take some responsibility and think forward.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. I don't care if some guy is stupid enough not to have batteries and they live in a hurricane zone, right? A lot of bad things are going to happen. Well, he's going to stub his toe. His girlfriend might leave him for somebody who's a little more prepared. There's going to be a whole bunch of things that are going to happen. Mm-hmm. And maybe the next time a hurricane comes around, he might actually have some plywood in the garage. Yeah. You understand, it isn't just about hurricanes, but I get so annoyed by people who think that the government is we're just another few laws away from perfection. We need fewer laws.
I chose Sandy for a reason, because it was well out of normal hurricane impact zone.
Yeah.
And the storm did actually something quite peculiar right toward the end of how
What was that?
It kind of turned inward right at New York City, which is kind of a peculiar place for a hurricane to travel. It just, I
remember that. There was something about that.
It did kind of make a left turn.
Yeah.
And that's why the northern Jersey shore was so badly hit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I remember people talking about the Jersey shore being torn
It just tore them to shreds.
Yeah.
And they were without power for a significant period of time. And it was October. So it was one of those. But then again, I was going to ask you, you don't like the government taking care of it. And I certainly don't like the federal government having much of a hand in it. What do you think about local?
I think on the one hand, as long as people are able to move, why should I care if somebody lives, say, in a dry county? I really do have to struggle with a lot of that stuff. I think as long as things are local and people have mobility, it's probably the least bad solution.
Right.
But I worry a bit about local governments massively overstepping their sort of justifiable authority.
That's the problem with the libertarian ideal, is that you want communities of people who want to live a certain way according to certain rules. You want those people to, coagulate and live together, and and that way everybody can be comfortable. The problem is you also need, as a kind of a federal sentiment, this idea that overall things need to be a little bit liberal. When anything that could possibly be legal and should be legal, and as far as anything that is responsible to
Liberality in the old true sense.
Yes, in other words, it has to be exceptional for the government to say thou shalt not do this, and things like that would prevent communities that think dogs are unclean to have things that prohibit people owning a dog in that state or city.
Yes.
That's too broad an area to prohibit something that is that big of a cultural item. And so you want this kind of general liberal live and let live, true libertarianism spirit to pervade everything else, where it really
And
is,
also avoid balkanization.
right. It also avoids balkanization. Exactly. And people
Looking at you, Lansing.
God, yeah,
Looking at you, Dearborn.
Hamtramck. Yeah, exactly. All that. Anyway,
All that cultural enrichment.
Yeah, the places that have given over to Sharia law for civil disputes, and that those people are forcing people who have no choice, and these are American citizens in many cases, forcing them to abjure the possibility of going to a secular civil court and saying that no, in our community you must submit to Sharia, and they are well, no, they're not dhimmis. These are the Muslims who live there. These Muslims cannot seek justice in a regular court. They have to go to a Sharia court,
Yes,
or they will be outcast.
Oh, absolutely, and be infidels.
That
But
is
there are
No.
also the occasional people that still live in those communities who are not of that persuasion, who are being forced to live like dhimmis.
No. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Although they do not pay a dhimmi. They
don't pay the jizya yet, but they're
yeah.
still being forced to basically adhere to strictures. There are other communities that do the same thing, particularly Hasidic communities.
Yeah. Now, the difference I would point out between the Hasidim and the dhimmitude of the Muslims is that the dhimmis are spared for the moment. It's we'll get to you later. Eventually, we're going to come to you with the sword and say convert or die. But we're going to let you live this way now because it benefits us. That is the true story of dhimmi, and I can give exact surah and verse.
That's dhimmitude, and it requires the jizya be paid.
Right. That happened as a result of a specific battle that is actually recounted in the Quran.
Yeah. Now,
but
Skep gets a text
Hasidic
that says
communities.
his credit card's been canceled right now.
Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, but Hasidic communities.
My icon disappears from the
Bing,
screen.
cut up your own card, damn it.
Just basically, that's right. You can start your own credit card company.
Yeah.
That's what we always enjoyed out of the Twitterati before Elon bought it.
Yeah.
You don't like the rules, you can always start your own social media. Yeah. But then a free speech guy decided to buy the social media company, and holy shit, have they been upset? But they're still on Twitter complaining about him.
No, they're fixing that. They're basically creating a whole set of requirements that that create a barrier to entry to anybody trying to get into that space.
Mm-hmm.
By saying, oh, well, unless you have an AI that, searches for hate speech and does this, that, the other thing. And of course, 50 different laws, because if you're international, right? So you have to deal with the EU regulations. There's so many regulations on a social media company at this point, and more coming every day. It is very difficult for a scrappy young startup to make a competitor.
It's very difficult for Twitter as it exists now to make itself competitive.
Hey, could we pause for a minute and say hello to? We got a big chat going. We got a lot of people here.
Well, I can say hello to everybody except for Jack.
Yeah, except for Jack.
Oh,
Except for Jack.
Yeah,
I'll
except for
say hi, Jack.
Gufsky. All right. So, hi, Jack. Hi, Jack. Anyway, Assassin's here. Jack is here, of course. Adam's here. Good to see you, Adam. Mash is here. God dang, Mashisu is here, and I'm just absolutely
Mash.
here for it. So good to see you,
Johnny.
old friend. And
Yeah.
oh yeah, Johnny Hellcat's here too. God, Hammer.
Big doings.
Assassin, I already said that.
Green Badger's been quiet since the beginning, but
Yes.
Green Badger's
Cannibalistic Wizards
Yeah,
here.
Lisa's here. Lisa is also here. I mean,
Hi,
we
Lisa.
just got a happening group of people. Cannibalistic Wizard, nice to see you. And Jack, it's even nice to see you, buddy. Nice to see you, man.
Oh, and Mashisu.
Glad to have everybody here.
No, thank you. I don't want to run for president. No.
It'd
No.
be fun.
is
She'd
way
be
more
fun.
than ruling.
Oh, I'd be fun for 15 minutes until they decided they had to no platform me because I told them to all eat shit.
We had to take the nuclear football away from her.
Yeah, well, yeah. Oh, speaking of which, not nuclear football so much. That's nuclear naps while meeting with Israeli ambassadors. But
Israel's not a nuclear country.
Did you? Thank God.
Yeah.
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 I mean, I don't know if you can see me winking, y'all, through the internet.
Knowing, look, nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
But did any of you read George Will's column in the Washington Post?
No, I haven't, but it's on my list.
Was his bow tie too tight, or did he actually make sense today?
No, this wasn't today. This was last week.
Okay.
Of course I couldn't get through the paywall. But
I got you.
I read some reactions to it, and I read some commentary on it, and how much in love with his column certain people were, which helped me glean how insane his column must have been. Because if Joe Walsh is slavering over something, you know there's a problem. Apparently, Mr. Will asserted that the real fifth column in this country are MAGA people who love Putin.
I can see Gary Coleman's face in my brain right now.
Yes.
Doing a full "what you talking about, Willis?"
Yes.
So what you talking about, Willis?
What you talking about?
Really, his bow tie was very, very tight. Number one, bringing this up, it's more echoes of the sure Jan, Russia. And this false dichotomy that you must be for Putin if you are against U.S. involvement in the Ukraine war. That is not it. It's not a binary choice like that. It is possible to detest both Zelensky and Putin at the same time. I do it every day.
What was the title of the column? I'm looking at Washington Post.
It's opinion.
Opinion neither Trump nor DeSantis or
Yeah.
Is that it?
I think it's from last week. End of last week.
Oh, for God's sake. It has forgotten that I'm not.
He's just so upset. Neocon shit bucket that he is. Well, I mean, I guess he's a neolib now that he joined the Democrat Party. I don't know what the fuck he calls himself, but he is an old neocon twat of the Isn't Lindsey Graham Great School. I can remember thinking that William F. Buckley and George Will were two of the most intelligent writers in the conservative sphere one could read.
George Will never struck me as being particularly conservative. But it's a nit.
A damn fine writer.
No, he's not a classical conservative at all. He is a libertarian. He is a classic right-wing libertarian.
Shit, yeah.
He is a conservatarian.
I think we agree that William F. Buckley was conservative. That we can all agree on.
Yes.
Yes, and a Goldwater conservative.
Definitionally.
But yeah. I have my problem with George Will is attaching a loaded language like fifth column to people that support non-involvement.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Vladimir Putin's fifth column is not in Kyiv, but in the Trump-DeSantis faction of the Republican Party. Putin has two hopes for a less than completely mortifying rescue from his Ukraine blunder. One is the election of Trump, whose frivolousness about national security complements his weakling's admiration for a bully. Putin's other hope is the election of DeSantis, who says, or said before retreating when criticized, Russia's attempt to erase a European nation is a territorial dispute, and whose pandering to Trumpkins prevents him from denouncing House Republicans who are as eager to abandon Ukraine as they would have been to abandon Czechoslovakia in 1938. Do you hear that comparison? This is Czechoslovakia in 1938.
He can eat
No,
a
it's-
bag. He
no,
can eat
it's
a bag
not.
of dicks. It's like take Sudetenland and shove it straight up your pinched ass, George.
What does he think we're going to do?
What does he think? I mean, my God.
I love conservatives who've never spent a moment in uniform deploying our forces. They just want to punch this guy.
Well, that's why I called him a neocon shit bucket.
Well, you're not wrong.
He's it, and the thing is, that's what drives me crazy about the conservatarian aspect of him.
Yeah.
Because it's like he used to know a little bit better than this.
Well, he still is capable.
But on behalf of every single human being on the planet,
he's just wrong here. He's just wrong here.
He's so wrong.
Grasping for something and saying something really stupid. And
Russia. It's
that widely
keeping
misleading.
Russia alive.
Yeah.
The Trump, and he is doing the bidding of the DNC when he's doing this.
Hey, let me ask you this though. I'm really interested in your opinion. What do you think Trump will do about Ukraine? He says he'll end it the first day. What do you think he's got? What do you think he would do that first day?
I think he'd schedule a summit. I don't know whether he's got the dick strength to do it anymore. He did while in office. You know, look at when Putin decided to invade the Ukraine. Okay.
That's for you, Prospero.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, sorry. Let me get back over there.
I appreciate that.
George Will edition.
Yeah, it needs to have a little bow tie on the ship.
I wonder if I could put a bow tie on this.
Please do.
You carry on.
It's really making me happy.
It might.
That's no regular bucket. That's a bucket of shit.
You know, we've said to one another and on air that we actually think Trump could have hammered out some kind of agreement regarding Crimea that would not involve Russia invading to seize and annex more provinces within Ukraine. And that it would have been very difficult for Putin to justify mean old Ukrainians mistreating ethnic Russians, you know, which is a way for him to justify to some of the world, himself and some of his people, his actions against the Ukraine. I do think Trump could have forced his hand there. I know he could have looked at Zelensky and said, do you want a dime in U.S. aid? Fucking give them their water. You know what I mean? Will is saying that Trump had no instincts whatsoever about foreign policy. I actually think he demonstrated some great savvy in foreign policy.
Yeah, I actually think that's all he has in foreign policy. He can't plan for shit. But he has good instincts about other big male dogs.
Yes.
And that's what Putin is. He knows a bully and he knows how to deal with a bully.
And
because he's a bully.
Yes, and Trump is unpredictable enough because he's mercurial enough, like Putin is mercurial, to have kept Putin in check. Part of Trump's good instincts were, if you want Syria that bad as your playground, you can just frickin' have it. You know,
they need Syria for the port. They need to have Syria be their little capture bitch state.
Yeah,
that's exactly what the Soviet Union wants, and that will never happen because that's not Russia, and the Arabs will never treat that as Russia. They will
but they will
never have security.
They could be slightly more cooperative. Erdogan's, and I've said this several times. Erdogan's a bit of a loose cannon, and difficult for Putin can't control Erdogan. He doesn't have the strength of forces to engage in a war with Turkey. Okay, and when the Black Sea is your warm water port, that's where they are on the Black Sea. You've got to contend with the Bosporus. And that's why Syria would have been useful as a client state.
Right. Well, yeah, it's all that nice real estate on the Mediterranean. Yes, of course.
But George Will's just another one of those big dictionary never Trumper types. Who cares?
Yeah.
He annoys. I can't figure out. Well, okay, no, Bill Kristol annoys me more.
Yes.
But George Will is definitely in the running. You
It's
like
their
this little
certainty.
quote from him that I threw up an annoying picture of the
Trump's
TUES.
fathomless lack of interest in America's path to the president is limitless gullibility, living susceptible to being blown about by gusts of factoids that cling like lint to a disorderly mind.
Do you know that is Michael Eric Dyson level of writing?
Yeah.
It is. It's word salad.
I really expect
No,
better
it's not
of
that
him.
high. It's not that high.
It's just
It's
not
that
good.
Okay.
Yeah, Dyson would never go for. I mean, he at least is careful about his metaphors.
Yeah, sometimes.
Gus, tell me about those gusts of factoids, Mr. Metaphor. Fuck.
I know that really is.
Maybe it was like a haboob of misinformation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Haboob.
I like
No,
that.
it should have been what is a derecho or derecho of disinformation.
Yeah.
Yes, that would seem out. Especially because it comes from the right. Derecho means right.
When you're so homophobic that even the winds are straight. Yes.
Oh my God.
I just like saying haboob.
Yeah. Haboob. I think that's my preferred.
That's a pretty silly word.
Preferred pronunciation.
Yeah.
Haboob, yeah.
It's a pretty silly word.
Can
you make us not stare at him now?
Yeah.
If you want to bring us all back.
I want to slap that face. I just want to slap it. But like you said, not as much as Bill Kristol. Every time I read one of Bill Kristol's spittle-flecked diatribe about Trump, I think, God, you are such an embarrassment to your father.
You're laughing at Devil Fruit Zero's comment?
He's laughing at me saying.
I was laughing at that spittle-flecked.
Spittle-flecked.
Hang on. Let me see.
I like Devil Fruit Zero's comment. Fell asleep
Yes.
through the quote.
He's not wrong. Hey, Addie.
Well played. Addie, what's going on?
But I thought you'd be entertained, Skep, by that because you were away and wouldn't have been looking at the tragic crap called the Washington Post.
No, even though I am a subscriber, I subscribe to the online.
Wow, that's so you can get behind the paywall, bro.
That's all of it's the only reason. I have to have one, and I just decided on the Post because I grew up with it, and it's my old paper.
And it's not as nightmare fuel as the New York Times.
I almost delivered it as a paper out my freshman year in high school, except I made more money doing gardens, rehabbing gardens. I would go up and say, "Your garden looks like shit. I'll make it look amazing." And I knew about 4 things to do. My dad had taught me how to fix a garden, and they were really good. I mean, I really cleaned it up. Really made it look nice. Put mulch in, weeded it really well, and all that stuff. Worked my ass off, but I made a lot of money doing that. But I did so well at that. I actually made more money than my friend who had taken the paper route that had been offered to me. I made more money than he did.
Smart guy, and you learned to tell weeds from plants.
Yes, I did. I pull crabgrass like you can never see.
Though I cannot do that with gloves on. I need bare hands.
You got
because I'm
bare
gonna do
hands
it.
only.
So I can feel beneath the root and
Right.
get. I gotta get.
On a muddy day, right?
Yeah, it's usually my ring finger. I'll get
Mhm.
in under there, then get my pinky in, begin to pull, and then get three
Give
fingers.
it a twist.
Have I got a
your
lawn
fingers
for
a
you?
twist.
Hand will ache like hell after you pull a bunch of that stuff
Tell
up.
me. Yep. What were you going to say, Harry?
I said, do I have a lawn for you?
Yeah. Have I got a lawn for you?
No, I
Wait
just
till you see her. Have I got a lawn for you, boy? What?
I just
what
round
is
up.
that from?
I just round that bitch up and round up that bitch and till
What
it
musical was
affects you.
that from?
What?
Have I got a lawn for you? It's actually Have I got a girl for you? Have I got a girl for you, boy? Who, boy?
What is it? Seven Brides? No.
No, it's one. It's a musical you and I have talked about. And I know you know it because you're very knowledgeable.
As long
I
as
don't
it's
know.
not Sondheim.
It is. It is.
I don't
Sondheim.
know my Sondheim, dear. I don't
Well,
like
you said,
Sondheim.
You said you said Company was okay.
I never saw that. Nuh-uh.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I'm wrong.
No, I'm
Never
the
mind.
one-
Erase. Never mind. Move on.
I also find like Sunday in the Park with George to have annoying music.
As long as
Yeah,
it's not South Pacific, it's fine.
Oh God, what's the matter with South Pacific?
Well, I told you the story about that. I must have told you the story about I was bartending one night because I was managing a restaurant, and here I was, maybe 22, and bartender got sick. And so, okay, fine. So I had to finish out the bartender shift in addition to all my other happy, fun things I was doing because managing a restaurant's actually pretty hard.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this old guy who would come in that a bunch of the old blue hair women who would come in with separate checks all the time thought he was really great. He had a little diamond stud in one side of his nose, just the tiniest little diamond, like you would miss it if you weren't looking for it. And I think they thought he was very cool. And he was actually a pretty well-dressed dude. And this woman came in wearing a turban, some older woman wearing a turban with like a faux costume jewelry brooch sort of holding the thing together. So she looked a little like Karnak the Magnificent.
Uh-huh.
And these two old people sat at the bar getting drunker than I've ever seen people that age ever get, singing on repeat most of the soundtrack to South Pacific over and over and over again. And I didn't like the movie before. I didn't like the musical before. By the time that night was over, I hated it. I never want to hear anything from that damn musical ever again.
Aww.
And
I'm sorry.
they were so drunk that when it was time to close, they tried to grab liquor and hide it under their clothes and sneak out with it. Like, a total 21-year-old college student move. It's like, you guys are in your 70s. You were old enough to know better.
This is why there's more VD in the villages than anywhere else in Florida.
So much chlamydia in those Viagra junkies running around giving chlamydia to each other.
No, really, it's great.
Viagra.
I like Viagra, actually.
That's right.
That's when you go on a 4-hour of Jag.
Yeah.
And that's how everybody got chlamydia. Oh, glory days.
There's an ointment for that.
Oh, so I'll just have to remember no happy.
Yeah. Anyway, why were we talking about? It's because I hate South Pacific.
Oh,
I'm trying to remember who were the idiots behind that, the musical.
God, Jesus Christ!
Which group of hacks was it?
Oh my God! Stop it!
I can't remember.
Stop it! Stop it!
Was it Rogers and Hammerstein or?
Oh
Rogers
God!
and Hart?
Yes, and I mean, stop it! They're not hacks. You blame those other people, not them.
I like Rogers and Hart. I don't like Rogers and Hammerstein.
It was actually South Pacific was Logan and Hammerstein.
Oh, okay. I can add a new name to the list of people I don't like that right now.
Joshua Logan.
Yeah. Good.
It was Richard Rogers, and the book was Hammerstein and Logan.
Oh, there's oh yeah.
So it's all of them, kind of. The playwrights were Hammerstein and Logan. Richard Rogers composed the music. Hammerstein wrote the lyrics. So it is Rogers and Hammerstein and Logan for the
Worked at a
script.
beach bar and nonstop Rihanna played. I don't think Rihanna was alive when this event took place, but I get your drift. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
people in bars are not very creative about the music they play. And sometimes, like I said, when I'd be shooting pool, people would just play the worst god-awful music that you could imagine. You know, my go-to to try to distract them would be something from the Blues Brothers. But if I got particularly ornery about it, there is a 26-minute song from the North Mississippi All-Stars that was a was a good value if you could find a jukebox that didn't just cut off the songs at 3 minutes. It's
Cool.
good to know what all of the really long songs are that you can play for $1.
Oh, speaking of musicals, a friend sent me a meme today where they pointed out that a fair, this is kind of tragic, but that lyrics from Les Miserables will scan to Sound of Music and vice versa. That look down, you're standing in your grave, look down, you'll always be a slave, scans to so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, adieu. Ruined my day.
So who did the musical to Les Miserables, or who wrote the music for that?
That's two French dudes. I don't, it's funny. I can never remember their names. Le musical. I know who staged the musical in London. It was Cameron. Cameron did it, actually. Shit, come on. Schoenberg and Boublil.
Okay.
Yeah, Claude Michel Schoenberg and Alain Boublil.
Johnny, I played baby metal and almost started a bar fight.
Boublil
Nah.
wrote the original French text. The actual words were written by Herbert Kretzmer, the words that are in the show.
The English words?
That's what I understand.
Okay, that makes sense. But Schoenberg did the music.
Yeah.
He did a good job.
Baby metal's not so bad. Of course, they don't exist anymore.
Les Mis is a pretty amazing musical to see. There are a lot of moving parts to it. But Cameron McIntosh was the one who staged it in London. Did the production for it. He did a fair number of pretty big, damned London musicals.
I love Mishisu talking chat. How many of you are looking forward to Snow White and the Seven Diverse People? I was waiting to see. He asked that earlier, actually.
Well, at least Aquafina's not singing or loosely speaking, singing in this one, is she?
Aquafina?
Remember that swamp?
Huh?
We covered it on a Saturday show. The
I missed
music for the new Little Mermaid is pretty terrible.
Oh yeah, I'm not surprised. Are you?
I was actually surprised because it seems like if you're going to make a musical, you should have some musicality to it. But they decided to make diverse.
Why should it conform to your majoritarian cis white standards?
Why should it conform to my traditional Western notions of what sounds pleasing to the ear?
Yeah, colonizer.
Yeah.
What do you have to say for yourself, colonizer?
Yeah, because Balinese gamelan, just the same as Johann Sebastian Bach. It's all the same. The same.
There is no difference.
There's no difference. Jesus. All music is the same.
I'm gonna drink lie if you keep that up.
Yeah.
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 Mescaline smoking shaman grunting is exactly the same as a Mozart sonata.
And the
There's
modern
no
stuff,
difference
it's like, let's
whatsoever.
listen to Hovannes because there's whale noises in that. Because when I think I want to
hell
listen to classical symphony, I think whale noises.
I want a whale of a symphony.
Sorry.
I'm surprised. You know, I'm kind of be impressed with what Philip Glass started. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, but I'd almost it's that whole sort of progression from John Cage to Philip Glass that yeah,
They,
I mean
they're the ones who
interesting.
made it okay to do that.
I mean, I mean some of the
Plastic
more minimalist
birding,
stuff is
you know.
actually not so bad, and some Philip Glass is actually okay.
Yes, but you also detest Satie.
What do you like by Philip Glass? I know
I
of
okay.
nothing.
I didn't
I
say
know of
like.
nothing that is even. Oh, all right. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I have one recording of a piece by Philip Glass, and I think it's a Boston Symphony. I can look it up later. I don't have time to look it up right now, obviously. But I have one recording with a Philip Glass piece where I kind of go, okay, that's listenable. But if I want to just listen to minimalist crap, I could just listen to Brian Eno. I could just put music for Airport 7 on and then just be perfectly happy if I'm just having audio wallpaper.
That's my objection to it. It just sounds like background. It sounds like I'm walking through a construction site sometimes. Some of the modern stuff. Yeah.
I think that would be Skrillex.
Yeah.
Yes.
Skrillex is a great example. Yeah.
Yeah. The you know, and the interesting thing is dotted in there are some composers who were much more modern, but in some cases because they did some sacred music as well, like church people like Ritter, who don't destroy the landscape. I just think, you know, it's kind of funny because I understand the exploration of 12 tone. I don't care for it.
Yeah.
I find it very dystonic and uncomfortable to listen to.
Well, at least it's not 5 notes. Thank you, China.
Well, no, you know, the interesting thing though is that pentatonic music, a lot of bagpipe music is pentatonic. And it's not all horrible, but I am such a Western ear that I want my 8. My 8. I don't really care for the 12. You know, it's like I don't like Stravinsky that much.
No one does.
And I don't like
Stravinsky's okay.
Schoenberg that much.
Early Stravinsky, maybe.
Some Shostakovich is okay. Some Stravinsky's okay. Some Rimsky-Korsakov is okay.
I love Rimsky-Korsakov. Don't you hurt my Rimsky-Korsakov.
Yeah, you don't touch Rimsky-Korsakov.
Was it the Russian Easter Festival Overture? I think that's Rimsky-Korsakov. Or am I? No. That's then it's
or
the whole Scheherazade thing is Rimsky-Korsakov. I forget. I might get my Russians. I get all
the Easter
all my modern Russian stuff confused. Yeah.
What is the name?
Russian Eastern Festival Overture.
Russian.
Find it. It was on the soundtrack to Cosmos.
Overture. That is Rimsky-Korsakov.
Oh, okay. So I'm not a complete idiot. Good.
Yeah, but I mean, come on, man. Rimsky-Korsakov did a lot of beautiful stuff, as did Prokofiev.
Thank you. So did Shostakovich, for that matter.
Yeah.
What do you got against Shostakovich?
Oh, Adamantine, aren't you adorable? Okay. Are you a fan of Haydn? He's the fewer notes contemporary of Mozart. Haydn was
he was Bach influenced.
Yeah, very much so. He's very predictable. But he wrote some lovely pieces.
He wrote some amazing piano pieces. Mom was a Haydn specialist. I listened to Haydn my whole life. And she thought he hung the moon. I got a little tired of him, frankly.
Well, I find him overly predictable, but it's like
Listen to somebody practice it for 6 hours without stopping.
I like listening to Bach, but I like stopping listening to Bach after.
I'm so with you too. Yeah,
Because
give me a prelude, give me an invention here and there. I'm good to go.
yeah, but it's like
now I want to listen to Beethoven. Please.
Entire cantatas will wear me out.
Me too.
Part of it is because it is so. It is so remarkably predictable. The thirds, the fifths, the thirds, the fifths, the thirds, the fifth, the octave, the thirds, the fifths, the thirds. There is just a certain pattern that develops when you're listening to Bach. That doesn't mean I don't like it. Listening to pieces out of the Well-Tempered Clavier can be very entertaining. It's like a good exercise for the ear, if you know what I mean. To listen to a few and then stop, and then move on. You say you want Beethoven. I prefer Brahms. Something soft and kind of soothing.
Yeah. There are times that I'm in the mood for Brahms.
But Mendelssohn makes me happy.
Mendelssohn, yeah.
The Italian Symphony, I absolutely adore. Not that I dislike.
You sing in choir, though. So you sang Mendelssohn's religious music. You probably sang his anthems and cantatas and stuff.
A little bit, but we actually did the Brahms Requiem.
We
did, yeah, we did too.
Ein Deutsches Requiem.
Yep.
This is one of my favorite CDs/albums. It was her first thing that she put out, and she went for the greatest hits. But the thing is, she did a beautiful job on everything.
Oh, Jack likes Chopin. Good choice.
Yeah. She's done a lot of stuff since then, not just Bach, but other things as well. She's always very good. And actually, her YouTube channel, some of the interviews and things she's done, it's interesting hearing her talk about the business and the music. She's a smart lady.
Adamantine says, of course, nothing beats Vivaldi's Four Seasons. I tell you what will beat that out of you. I
do like Vivaldi.
Working in a place that plays a movie that uses Vivaldi's Four Seasons throughout the movie. And then you hear it for 3 straight months. And then you decide that if you ever meet Vivaldi in the afterlife, you're going to send him to the 8th circle of hell.
Just be thankful it wasn't the Albinoni Adagio.
Oh, Jesus Christ, please don't. Don't even mention that. That is an absolutely
slit your wrists by.
That is an absolutely exquisite piece of music.
But
one of the problems is it was Herbert von Karajan's interpretation of it that was used in Gallipoli, which is actually slowed down. You can find other performances of Albinoni's Adagio that are nowhere near that infused with rigor mortis. And it's von Karajan. I'm not knocking him. He was an incredible conductor, but he really slowed that down. And of course, they used it in Gallipoli, and that is a very tough scene to watch. And it is kind of the Pink Floyd of classical music. But it's an exquisite piece of music.
Johnny sent me this.
Oh, God damn it.
If called, will you serve?
Where's my feather,
Listen
Johnny?
up, you neat shit buckets.
Give my... I need that. I really, really need that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Johnny. I still want a feather. Oh, God, that is just amazing.
I love Ode to Joy, too, Mashizu. That's quality choice.
Even the EU hasn't ruined it yet, but they're certainly trying.
Yeah, they're giving it a shot. Yeah, you're
Kiss my ass, cannibalistic wizard.
too old to run. How about no? She's not old enough.
It doesn't matter who. It doesn't matter who's in charge as long as the people behind them know what they're doing, right?
Yeah, that's the problem. You know, all kidding aside, that really is the problem. Is that Joe Biden doesn't bring any value to the party. He doesn't bring anything. He can't manage anything, and he's a dangerous point. He can be influenced by irrational things that can result in tremendous cost to the country, to the people. A lot of bad things. Guys, we are at 9 o'clock. Believe it or not, and with this giant picture of Prospero, probably smoking in the Oval Office and telling somebody, "Yes, I did bomb your country."
Damn Skippy. They'll never know what's coming with me because it's like, oh god damn it, I told you to cut that shit out.
Yeah.
Give her a feather and a dot.
Yeah, feather and dot.
That'll confuse people.
I mean, I don't. The only main reason I want the feather is I need to appeal to Massachusetts voters.
Yeah,
that's right. With your sister Elizabeth Warren.
Mm-hmm.
But we have been your minions this evening, and it's time to bring the telecast to an end. Anybody have anything they just needed to say? If so, you